are the freedom fighters, those who once rose with fire in their eyes and chains in their hands, not to bind, but to break them? Where are the voices that echoed in the valleys of oppression, that thundered like rolling storms through the mountains of injustice? Where are the hearts that beat like war drums for truth, for dignity, for the right to simply be free? The world today is not short of pain, not lacking in cries that go unheard, not immune to the darkness that has cloaked the innocent for too long. And yet, the silence is deafening. In a time when the walls of Pharaoh still stand, walls built from greed, apathy, and the thirst for power, we look around and wonder, where is our Moses? Where is the leader who will speak to the tyrants, not with polished speeches or political pleasantries, but with divine boldness and a staff that parts seas of despair? We do not ask for a Messiah to save us, but a liberator to awaken us. For now, as the world burns quietly in its own moral sleep, we are aching for deliverance, not only from systems, but from spiritual numbness, from the chains of convenience and cowardice that have replaced shackles of iron. The people perish not only from bullets and poverty, but from hopelessness, from forgetting, from accepting the chains they can no longer see. They call it freedom, but it is a simulation, something sold in pieces, advertised between wars and filtered through digital veils. We scroll past injustice, click past hunger, mute the sounds of bombs and burning forests, and call it progress. But progress without purpose is just motion. Where are the ones who will stop the motion long enough to question its direction? The ones who will not be bought by applause or silenced by fear? Those who will live not to preserve themselves, but to free others? The truth is, freedom has never been freely given. It has always been wrestled from the hands of those who profit from oppression. Moses knew that. Harriet Tubman knew that. Mandela, Gandhi, Malcolm, Martin all knew that. They bled, were imprisoned, hunted, hated, yet they marched forward. They heard the cries of their people and turned them into anthems of defiance. But today, it seems the cries have been drowned in consumerism, silenced by distraction, numbed by comfort. We are distracted revolutionaries, warriors with broken compasses, prophets with no mountaintop to climb. We crave liberty but fear the sacrifice it demands. We repost instead of protest. We hashtag instead of march. We react instead of act. And all the while, the pharaohs of the modern world tighten their grip. Who will rise and say, "Let my people go"? Who will face the digital empires, the corporate tyrannies, the systemic racism, the state-sanctioned violence, the global inequities that enslave billions? We do not need another politician. We do not need another influencer. We need another Moses, someone who will speak truth to power, who will not negotiate with injustice but tear it down. Someone who will demand justice with the authority of heaven and the humility of one who has walked through wilderness. Someone who leads not with ego, but with vision. Someone who would rather be exiled than complicit, who chooses the oppressed over the palace. But maybe, just maybe, we've misunderstood the question. Maybe we should not be asking, "Where is Moses?" Maybe we should be asking, what are we waiting for? What if the Moses we need is not coming from outside, but must rise from within? What if we are the freedom fighters we've been looking for? What if the burning bush is already in front of us, aflame with injustice and glowing with urgency, but we are too busy, too afraid, too comfortable to take off our shoes and step into the sacred fire of responsibility? What if the promised land is not a distant place, but a future we must build together with blistered hands and unshakable hearts? The time of waiting is over. The time of hoping someone else will do it is over. Each of us holds a piece of the staff. Each of us carries a sliver of the commandment etched in conscience. We must rise, not in uniformity, but in unity. Not with weapons of war, but with truth, love, courage, and relentless determination. The systems of oppression are many: racism, sexism, capitalism run wild, climate destruction, poverty, mass incarceration, genocide, colonialism dressed in new suits. These are our Egypts. These are the Red Seas we must cross. And every pharaoh that stands in our way must be confronted not just by leaders, but by movements, by people who refuse to bow, refuse to blend in, refuse to be silent. We must become the freedom fighters. We must become the Moses generation. Let the poets write with fire. Let the musicians compose revolutions. Let the scientists invent for justice. The teachers educate for freedom. The mothers raise rebels. the fathers build bridges, the children dream loudly. Let every artist, every thinker, every laborer, every soul find their role in the resistance. This is not just about politics. This is about spirit. This is about reclaiming what it means to be human in a world that keeps trying to sell our souls back to us in monthly subscriptions. Freedom is not a luxury. It is not a trend. It is a birthright. And yet we find ourselves in a strange age where truth is contested, where history is rewritten in favor of the powerful, where people are taught to accept crumbs and call it bread. But we are starving. We are hungry for more than this. We are desperate not just for rights, but for meaning. Not just for liberty, but for love. Not just for change, but for transformation. And that transformation begins the moment we stop waiting. The moment we stop looking for another Moses and start becoming one. Each act of courage, each refusal to conform, each stand against oppression, each life lived in truth is another crack in the empire's wall. The chains may be invisible now, but they are no less real. They are in the minds that believe they are powerless. They are in the policies that pretend to protect but actually divide. They are in the systems that reward silence and punish dissent. And they must be broken. So where are the freedom fighters? They are reading this. They are waking up. They are rising slowly, painfully, beautifully. They are organizing, resisting, planting seeds of revolution in small conversations, in quiet rebellions, in classrooms and kitchens, in street corners and boardrooms. They are ordinary people doing extraordinary things. They are artists, students, parents, dreamers, workers, immigrants, outcasts, believers, doubters. They are everyone who still believes in a better world and is willing to suffer to see it born. They are not perfect. They are not saints, but they are faithful to the cause. They are faithful to each other, and they know that every act of resistance is sacred. Every protest is a prayer. Every step toward justice is a march toward the promised land. We need another Moses, but maybe Moses was never meant to be just one man. Maybe Moses is a spirit, a movement, a calling. And maybe, just maybe, it's calling you.
We need a leader to rise while these troubled seas lead us to the promised land and set our spirits free. We need a voice of reason, a beacon in the stars, someone to keep our hearts warm. We need another Moses to part these troubled seas, lead us to the promised land and set our spirits free. We need a voice of reason, a beacon in the storm, someone to walk beside us, to keep our hearts warm. The mountains are so high, the valleys so low. We need a leader who knows which way we should go, with courage and compassion to break these chains of fear. We need someone to stand up and make the path clear. In a world so divided, we need unity, a dream that we can follow, a future we can see, with strength and conviction, and wisdom in their eyes. We need a leader to rise, so rise up from the ashes, take us by the hand, lead us through the darkness to a brighter land. We need another Moses to show us through today. Need a leader to rise while these troubled seas lead us to the promised land and set our spirits free. We need a voice of reason, a beacon in the stars, someone to keep our hearts warm. We need another Moses to part these troubled seas, lead us to the promised land and set our spirits free. We need a voice of reason, a beacon in the storm, someone to walk beside us, to keep our hearts warm. The mountains are so high, the valleys so low. We need a leader who knows which way we should go, with courage and compassion to break these chains of fear. We need someone to stand up and make the path clear. In a world so divided, we need unity, a dream that we can follow, a future we can see, with strength and conviction, and wisdom in their eyes. We need a leader to rise, so rise up from the ashes, take us by the hand, lead us through the darkness to a brighter land. We need another Moses to show us through today. We need a voice of reason, a beacon in the storm, someone to walk beside us, to keep our hearts warm. We need another Moses to part these troubled seas, lead us to the promised land and set our spirits free. We need a voice of reason, a beacon in the storm, someone to walk beside us, to keep our hearts warm.